Okay, so this is assignment 7, part 1. For our tableau here, we're going to be looking at job loss and the loans given out to specific industries and who supplied the loans and kind of where a majority of those loans went. So the first thing we got here is just a chloroplast map showing where a lot of the job loss happened throughout the U.S. here. So the biggest areas that it was happening in are obviously the most populated states. So California, we got Texas, Florida, and New York. So these states all had the most number of jobs reported for unemployment. And then we'll look at, out of all those jobs, what was the most common that people were dealing with, or what industries were most affected. So we go down here, and it's a little cut off here, but we can see that full service restaurants clearly were the most affected. So not any surprise there by any means. Most restaurants were shut down due to COVID, and so a lot of those people working in that industry were out of a job for a while, if not still. And then we have limited service restaurants, so another restaurant industry. And then lastly, offices of physicians. So doctors' offices, interestingly enough, but a lot of those places didn't want to bring people who were might have COVID in. Especially, if people were doing just regular health checkups or looking for test results. And we'll go to look at the industries that received the most loans. And we can see that most loans for the Paycheck Protection Program, we can see that full service restaurants, just as they were the highest, who suffered job loss, very large there. New car dealers, we got second is Office of Physicians, contractors, lawyers, and new car dealers. So a lot of what you might deem highly interactive, face-to-face, person-to-person jobs that aren't necessarily considered essential in a day-to-day sense. And then lastly, we're just going to look at, of all these loans, who was supplying the majority of them. So we'll look here, we can see that JP Morgan supplied the most and closely followed behind by Bank of America. And those two combined made up by far the majority. And then a couple other honorable mentions is the Truist Bank and PNC Bank. So out of all the paycheck protection loans that were going out to these industries, these kind of top four made up most of them, with JP Morgan and Bank of America leading the way, which isn't surprising considering how large those banks are.